What's up, YouTube? So we're officially at the tail end of 2021, which of course means that most of the laptops that are going to release this year already have, and we reviewed a ton of them on this channel right here. So I figured now's the perfect time for reflection. This time, rather than just rank laptops in some plain old-fashioned categorical sense, I've actually broken them down by their use case or best profession. If you want to skip to any particular category, feel free to use the play bar below and or go to the video description and you can actually find the chapters and timestamp for each given laptop/category. Of course, a couple of important caveats to keep in mind include, first and foremost, I only ever show laptops in this ranking that I have personally reviewed on this channel. If I did anything else, it would be unfair to you and just unprofessional on my end. The second thing to keep in mind is this is my professional opinion based on my experience with machines. These aren't definitive categories and these aren't definitively the best laptops. They're based on my experience, again, using them. So if you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it in the comment section below. Also, keep in mind, of course, that depending on the region you're in, these laptops will vary based on their configuration, their availability, and all that sorts of details. And finally, the most important thing is that this is not a detailed review of any of these laptops. I've already done those. I will leave links in the video description below. This is a high-level highlight of where these laptops excel and why I chose them for the given category. Lenovo IdeaPad 5. The reason I chose this machine for coders and programmers is not just one, but many reasons. First and foremost, it has a lot of configurable options, both in the AMD and Intel department, so you can pick your side of the fence. Furthermore, it has what I consider to be great build quality. It has a nice mix of standard and hard TPU materials. It feels sturdy overall, and it's totally business/professional appropriate. It can be used in any setting and look sleek and modern. Beyond that, of course, you have a great trackpad, but an exceptionally well-built keyboard. You have an ample amount of key travel, it's tactile, it doesn't feel cheap or finicky in the slightest, and it comes with a 10-key pad that actually looks like a proper 10-key pad in the 15-inch variation. Also, it's worth noting, of course, that you have a decent variety of I/O ports, and in terms of battery life, I was able to get up to 10.5 hours on a single charge doing light to moderately intensive CPU tasks at 50% brightness. Of course, your mileage will vary depending on the type of activity you're doing. Coding will definitely take away from that. Beyond that, one of the things kind of holding back this machine, unfortunately, is its display. With a mere 56% sRGB rating, colors look dull and the opposite of vivid. Of course, it is worth noting this is not a creator-friendly machine and it's more so for productivity, hence why I recommend it for coders and programmers. In the Windows camp, the Surface Laptop 4 is one of the best content creator PCs out there with a relatively respectable price point. So its biggest signature feature is its display. With a 98% sRGB rating or 72% Adobe RGB, you can be wholeheartedly assured that colors look relatively nice, and also you have a pixel density of 201 ppi. Again, it gives it a nice crisp appeal. Furthermore, a peak brightness of 400 nits, meaning glare will be a nominal issue at most, and this is a touch captive display, which is an added bonus for content creators. Unfortunately, of course, it is worth noting that if you do opt to get this laptop in the AMD configuration, you can only get it in the 4000 Ryzen series versus the latest 11th generation iterations in the Intel configuration, but at least you have options to pick either side of the fence again. Furthermore, it's worth noting you have great build quality and exceptional battery life at 13.5 hours with our real-world test, again at 50% brightness, doing light to moderately intensive CPU tasks. Some of the things that do hold this machine back, unfortunately, first and foremost, is that rather limited I/O port availability. So you'll notice you have very few ports and connectivity can be a bit of a concern sometimes. Lastly, you have a very limited amount of storage available on this machine, locked at just 1 terabyte in total. Some content creators will fill that up in a week's time straight. So if you need more storage inboard, then this laptop may not be the ideal fit from that perspective. From the Mac side of things, one of the best laptops you can get, of course, is undoubtedly the new lineup of the MacBook Pro series. In particular, the base configuration with the 14-inch variant. So that M1 Pro chip at the 8-core base configuration is more than ample to handle anything from 4K video editing to heavy photo editing to just doing everything else in between. It's not going to disappoint you. It's, again, sufficient for most people. Furthermore, you have a phenomenal display that's standard across all of the 14-16-inch lineups. This of course includes a pixel density of 256 ppi, making it look ultra sharp and ultra crisp. You also have a 100% Adobe RGB color rating, which means colors look ultra vivid, ultra nice in the machine, and they're actually the best in terms of accuracy on this entire list or this video per se. Furthermore, you can get a peak HDR brightness of 1600 nits, a HDR sustained brightness of 1000 nits, and an SDR brightness of 500 nits. A little disappointing that Apple doesn't mention the SDR brightness rating, but at least you know that it's a pretty high amount overall. Furthermore, it's worth noting, of course, you get the high quality build that you'd expect with MacBook, so the entire body is made of a metallic finish, a great trackpad and keyboard to go alongside that, and for the first time in a long time, you get amazing I/O port diversity. Connectivity for the most part will not be an issue with this machine. One of the biggest downsides to this machine is its price. Starting at $2,000 USD, these MacBook Pro series lineups are not cheap, and that's the base configuration. You want more horsepower, you end up paying considerably more. So if budget is a huge factor, then this is a big no-no. Next up in the 2-in-1 category, and this was tough because there's a lot of good competition out there, but ultimately I ended up nominating the HP Pavilion X360 laptop. First and foremost, the build quality on here is pretty good. You have a nice mix of metallic and hard TPU materials again, but the hinge itself is exceptional. It's well designed, it doesn't wobble a lot, and this is really important because this is a 2-in-1 machine, meaning it goes through excessive wear and tear because it can fluctuate between tablet mode and laptop mode and tilt practically almost 366 degrees. Furthermore, it's worth noting that this laptop does come in multiple configurations and you can crank it all the way up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, of course subject to availability in your region. Another good thing about this machine is its fantastic touch capabilities. It has a 120 Hz input rate, meaning it's super responsive and lag-free, not to be confused with the 120 Hz screen refresh rate. This is a 60 Hz display. Which of course also brings to the next point, I/O port diversity and connectivity on this machine is quite pleasant. It has more than a lot of the competition, and another good aspect is that you have a respectable trackpad and keyboard on this device. One thing holding this display is the actual quality of the color. So you have a mere 58% sRGB rating, which means colors look dull and unattractive on a good day. Furthermore, with a mere 250 nits peak brightness, you will be the victim of glare if you use this machine in highly lit settings, whether it's outdoors or indoors, and it also has a less than average battery life of approximately 7 hours, which puts it below the all-day use category. All in all though, I still think this is a great 2-in-1 machine despite those flaws. If you're looking for a laptop that has fantastic battery life and portability, there is no other laptop I can recommend more than the M1 MacBook Air. This thing literally is a portable powerhouse with great battery life. So in our real-world test, we got up to 17 hours of battery life on a single charge doing light to moderately intensive activities at 50% brightness. And tune that brightness even more and you can probably squeeze another hour or two out of this machine, which is amazing honestly. Furthermore, the M1 chip, like I mentioned, is a absolute powerhouse. While not as powerful as the M1 Pro series, it can handle up to 4K video editing, which again is not expected in a machine that's this small. Speaking of size, this is a very sleek and small machine that's designed for all-day carry-on. At just 2.8 pounds, you will hardly feel this thing in your backpack or your briefcase or suitcase or whatever. It's designed to be kept on the go. Unfortunately, the display fitting does look a little outdated and is in need of severe redesign. However, the display itself is quite impressive with a 98% Adobe RGB rating. Again, this is one of the best displays in the laptop industry to date, despite the rather aged look of the MacBook Air at this point. One big downside for this machine is its very limited I/O port diversity with just basically 2 USB-C ports. Again, this is gonna hurt a lot of people from a connectivity point of view, so keep that in your considerations. The final laptop on our list is the one nominated for Best All-Around Capability or General Productivity. Doesn't make it the best machine in this list, simply the best kind of jack of all trades. And that goes to the Dell Inspiron 5410. This is a 14-inch laptop by Dell that was refreshed this year. And first and foremost, it has great offerings in both Intel and AMD configurations, all the way up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. So plenty to choose from. Furthermore, the build quality on this machine is fantastic. It uses a nice mix of premium and standard materials that often come close to rivaling its own premium Dell XPS series of laptops. Furthermore, you have a decent offering of I/O ports, but perhaps the highlight feature here is the fantastic display you get with a 100% sRGB rating, a little less than ideal 300 nits peak brightness, but you do get it all in a standard full HD screen. Now, a few things holding this machine back include the fact that it has an average battery life of just 7 hours, making it one of the weaker laptops in that perspective. So if you plan to use this for all day use, then you may want to look elsewhere. Furthermore, the fact that this machine's cooling vent or heat exhaust vent is located directly beneath the LCD is a little concerning to me in the long term. That excessive heat buildup has a small but possible potential to damage the LCD screen. Time will tell. I don't want to label it like that, but again, I also like to put possibilities out there for you guys. Overall, I still think this is a fantastic all-rounder machine, and it definitely made the cut as one of my top laptops to recommend for general productivity. Well guys, that's a wrap. So those were the best nominations for those respective categories. Again, keep in mind this list was not definitive. Your opinion may greatly vary from mine, and I'd love to hear in the comment section below what laptop you think is best for each of the categories I mentioned, or if you have a general laptop that's your personal favorite or one that you're planning on getting. And also keep in mind that I only ever mention laptops I've reviewed for professional reasons, to keep it consistent and make sure I'm giving you an honest review. As always, if you enjoyed the content, hit the like button, consider subscribing to my channel, it genuinely helps me grow. Oh, and one more thing, I've left a description as well as the full review for each of these machines in the video description, so you can quickly find that and get more details on any given laptop of your choice. Thank you so much for watching, see ya!